It's a fantastic driving experience. It's like riding a massive wave. If you were surfing, you would be sort of riding that crest of that wave all the time, feeling the power of that wave coming through the car. These and the 2.5s represent amazing value for money. When you compare them to other stuff out there now, new cars and everything else, these are all the car you could ever need. Hi, this is Raj from MR Sportscars. Here I've got two very, very nice Porsche models. The Cayman GTS, but in the 4 litre guise, and also the 2.5 litre flat 4 turbo. The prices aren't too different between these two models now, and a lot of people are considering whether to go with the flat 6 4 litre or the flat 4 2.5. Specification wise, they're actually very similar, and I'll show you that through the statistics that we've got that we put first on the sale file for every car on the PDF. So you can see that on paper they're very similar in terms of their outputs, but how they drive is very different. So I'll take them both for a drive and actually talk through exactly how they are different. But first of all, I'm going to walk around each car and show you exactly how they differ from an aesthetic point of view. There's also some option differences on these two cars, so that will become apparent as well. So as you can see, this 4 litre GTS is finished in Gentian Blue, which even on this cloudy day, I think looks absolutely stunning. And then this 2.5 litre is finished in special order crayon, or chalk as it's known in the US, possibly other places as well. Now these are fantastic B-road cars, long distance travellers, because they're so practical, they're so balanced with the engine set right in the middle of the platform there, right behind the seats in both cases. They have the same practicality in terms of the space you get for luggage. So you've got a huge hatchback in the back there, and then in the front you've got, just like in 911s actually of the same era, you've got that full boot that goes all the way to the floor there. So they are a very practical car for two people to travel cross-continent with ease. Now, in terms of the differences between these two particular cars, this one wasn't spec'd with the badging to be in black in terms of the Porsche, but all GTSs sort of had this satin black for the model designation. This one's been spec'd with black there. The tailpipe setup is different on the two cars. So you've got two individual tailpipes at a distance apart with the 4 litre. That makes it very easy to visually tell between the two models. The 2.5 has the same setup as the S model, so all of the 2.5 litre have this exhaust in the centre there, twin exhaust circular ones. This has got the rear wiper, which you can see, whereas the 4 litre doesn't. On the side you've got different badging, so you get the GTS on the 2.5 GTS with the 4 litre. On this blue one, it's not as easy to read, but it does say GTS and then 4 litre down there on the side. Mirrors and everything are the same, but you could obviously spec them to be painted on the underside. You could also get the painted in different colours, in this case gloss black, and the rear spoiler you could also have as an accent colour, so in this case gloss black, whereas that one is body coloured, which is the standard option. The rear tail lights are the same, they just look slightly different because of the colour of the car, I think. So this one actually looks lighter than this because this is more of a contrast, but they are the tinted LED rear tail lights. And then at the front it's very similar, so you've got the same headlight setup, same front bumpers between the two, so no changes there. So the two cars have obviously got different wheel styles. As standard, you would have got these Carrera S wheels on both, and these are finished in, I think they're finished in metallic black, but we can look that up in the spec sheet of this car. And then the 4 litre has what are called the Carrera Sport wheels, which are 1/2 inch wider front and back, still the same size tyres, which I don't know. So for me, that sidewall looks good. It's got the rim protector here. That's Pirelli P0s. That's the same size tyre as on these 1/2 inch wider Carrera Sports, and the wheel sits nicer in the wheel arch. It sticks out a bit more, so you don't need wheel spacers. But to me, the sidewalls do look slightly sort of stretched because of that 1/2 inch on those, and I'm not sure if that's down to this particular model of tyre, the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S in N0. But to me, it does look slightly stretched, but that is exactly what should be fitted on it. We have verified that. It just looks quite different in its appearance and how it sits on the rim to the standard Carrera S alloy wheels there. And then the other big difference is actually the brake setup size. So from the factory, the 4 litres, if they're not spec'd with carbons, have 350mm front brakes with a larger caliper there, I think. So it's a more powerful brake setup than you get on the 2.5. The 2.5 is 330mm diameter brake discs. So that's another difference from the factory. Obviously, if either of the car was spec'd with ceramic brakes, then that would be different altogether, different amount of stopping power. But these are steel for steel. There is a difference between the setups, and I think even the rear discs may be different, but we'll look at that in the specs. Now, this car was optioned with the extended leather and Alcantara package with carmine red stitching, red belts, the sports seats plus, which are standard on the GTS models. GTS is stitched in. It's not like a print or anything. That is actually individual stitching. And on this car, that red theme actually carries on the armrest. It's got the extended leather across the center console as well. It's got the Porsche on the armrest as well. And then even the center dial is also in carmine red, and the mats are even got red stitching with the Porsche on there. Heated seats. It hasn't got the climate control, so it hasn't got the automatic management of the temperature and 2 zones. This has just got air conditioning, but you can control fan speed and make it hotter or colder. So it's just as effective as climate control. You just have to have more input into what it's actually doing. It has wired CarPlay as well, and it has the Cayman GTS there. The steering wheel is the optional GT Sport steering wheel, which does actually come as standard on GTSs, but that's got the optional heating. It's got the Alcantara PDK selector as well. So both are PDKs. So that's the dual clutch semi-automatic gearbox. You can run it in manual, you can run it in full auto. So it's a really great box because the character varies so much depending on how you want to drive. So if you want to drive quite leisurely, quite docile, it will do that. If you want to be sort of 10/10 on the racetrack, it will also do that fantastically with those steering wheel shift paddles, and also the selector itself. The PDK selector will allow you to change gear just like you would on a sequential gearbox rally car or something. So a very, very good box. Also very reliable from our experience as well. The trims were also spec'd in carbon, as you can see there, and it's got the sports PASM. So this is 20mm lower than a car without PASM. So it actually sits really well on the road. It's got a lovely gap in the arch there. This has got PASM, so this is 10mm higher. So it's got a bit more of a gap between the wheel and the arches, but still rides exceptionally well. It's still got the switchable suspension, so it's got a comfort setting and a sport setting. And then the interior of this one's a little bit more toned down. So it doesn't have the extended leather and Alcantara package, so it's got the standard leather and Alcantara seats, or Racetex as it's known. It has also the Racetex headlining, which the other one does as well, but it has black belts. The stitching's silver rather than obviously red. The GTS is still stitched, but it's in a very dark grey. rev counter is in black. It's got the leather GT steering wheel, also with heating, and it's got the leather PDK selector. No leather across here, but it has got leather and Alcantara across here with that stitching, but no emblazoned sort of Porsche or a crest there. The trims were also specified to be brushed aluminium on this car, just to lighten it up a bit, I guess. But because it doesn't have the extended package, it means that there's no trims on here, whereas the other one has the carbon trims which come all across here, and it has the stitching all across the doors. So I'll just compare like for like. So on these you only get the Race Tex or Alcantara, whatever you want to call it, across these sections here. The rest is all this sort of soft touch plastic. So that's something to bear in mind when you're buying one of these cars, that does make a difference to how it feels on the inside. But then on this car, it has got the full climate control system. It's got heating as well for the seats, which the other one did, but it also has these additional buttons so you can control. Let me just turn it on so you can see. It has 2-zone climate control, so you can set the temperatures on both sides and it will just determine where to put the fans. They both have this Manatino style, Ferrari Manatino style mode selector there, which is very nice with dynamic response. And there's the heating as well. It will come up for the steering wheel. Both have that cruise control as well. This one has voice control. And the top of the dash, as I said, is also that soft touch plastic. Same Cayman GTS across the inner sill there, and folding mirrors. Let me put that in. So these are the sport design mirrors. Oh, and it also has sort of lane blind spot monitoring as well, so it flashes up red when there's a car next to you there on both sides. This car also has a reversing camera, so it is easier to reverse, and that's when the spoiler comes up, you get it looking like that. It has a reversing camera which is hidden up in that section there, whereas this one doesn't, but it has all the sensors all round, front and back, so you know exactly what's behind you. Now I'm going to go through just the stats and then we'll take them for a drive. So here are the two cars side by side. So this is the PDF that we put together for all of our cars, laying at the first page of this PDF. So we also list all the options for each car, the diagnostics including over revs, the service history, that kind of thing. But the first page is quite simply how big the car is, engine size, tyre size, wheel size, offsets of the wheels, brake size, power, and everything else. So the differences between these two is the brakes. So it's 330mm versus and 299, whereas this is 350 and 330. So it's a bigger brake setup on the 4 litre. Then the engine, Flat-4 2497, Flat-6 3996. And that gives you very similar performance. So 360 horsepower, 6.5, 395 horsepower at 7,000, 310 foot-pounds of torque at 1900, 317. That is higher, but look at the RPM, 5.5, whereas this is 1900. That should make a big difference to how it feels on the road in terms of responsiveness. Having driven both and knowing how that translates, it makes the 2.5 GTS feel more urgent at lower revs. It feels quicker getting off the mark, which is sort of instant gratification, but that isn't the full picture. It is fantastic when you feel that, but then this has, the 4 litre also has its own great benefits. So acceleration is very similar, 3.9 to 60, 3.8 to 60, top speed 180 for the 2.5, 179 for the 4 litre. Weight is slightly different, so this is reported as being slightly heavier, 1480 versus 1435. I guess that's down to all of the the bits and pieces that come with those turbos. So I'm going to take, this is a 2019, this is a 2019 model year, this is a 2021 model year car, but there's no real other sort of major updates to the interfaces, CarPlay, that kind of thing between the two. It's purely down to how you spec the cars, which I've shown you those differences, and obviously that difference in the engine setup. So I'm going to drive both now and talk through exactly what they feel like. Okay, so I'm just about to set off in the 2.5 litre GTS. This is the one that has the, I would say, sort of controversy around the sound on startup, because they do sound very different to a flat 6 because it is a flat 4. It's just the architecture of the engine. But let me start it up so you can hear it for yourself. This is from cold. So you can hear it's a rougher sort of, it almost sounds a bit like a Beetle, I would guess. That's my, now I'll put it in sport, it picks up the rev slightly. On the move, they sound fantastic, but that's the one thing that sometimes puts people off. But I would argue that there's quite a lot of positives of this car, and hopefully I'll be able to highlight them on this drive now. So just shut that window. I've got it in sport modes just because it disables start stop, engages the exhaust as well, but I'll take it for a leisurely drive initially, and then once it starts showing temperature in the oil, which is a crucial thing, not just the coolant, but the oil has to be warming up, because then that means it's flowing nicer around the engine. Just seeing it on your drive and running it just to get the coolant temperature up is a bit of a, not a great thing to do. The best thing to do is just get on and drive these cars, but at a sort of leisurely pace so that they heat up quicker in terms of their oil. Now I'm going to be going on one of my favourite roads. The roads are a bit slippy, but they're actually quite dry today, which is great for mid-December. We do have to kind of watch out for the weather around here. I mean, all Caymans, doesn't matter what era, we specialise in 987 Gen 2, which is 2009 onwards. No matter what era of Cayman you get, they are fantastic cars. And when I do these comparison videos, because I'm comparing a Porsche with a Porsche, it's like comparing 8 tenths with 9 tenths or 9 tenths with 10 tenths. There really isn't a bad Porsche model. And all I'm trying to highlight is the nuances, not the absolute, is it a great car? Because that is without question something that is true, and the reality of these cars is they are fantastic sports cars. No matter which model you try, you could get in a 2 litre turbo, which is also a flat 4, and you can have an absolutely epic ownership experience, a great drive anywhere. But in this case, I'm comparing two GTSs purely because the prices of them are so similar now. This car is up for 54. The 4 litre has been reserved, and that was up at 60. They're in and around, the way I see it, if you've got 50k to spend on a car, you could probably hopefully stretch to 60. And so a lot of inquiries I get for these cars is also very much people debating in their own minds which is the better car for them, whether it's that lovely 4 litre flat 6 or this 2.5 litre. I'm just going to join a B road now, and hopefully there's no traffic, which it doesn't look like there is. So oil temperature's up. What is oil temperature? Oil temperature's already up to 60 degrees, which is fantastic. I mean, this car's got so much low down torque. It just surges, and it's very vocal as well. It's got a lovely boxer thrum to it. It's so planted as well, but then that goes for any Cayman, as I was saying. You can immediately dial yourself into having a great time with this car. It's Absolutely brilliant. It spits and cackles. I've got the sports exhaust open, as I said. I've just got it in the standard suspension setting, which is extremely comfortable, but still quite a nice firm ride with no roll. This has got sports spasms, so it sits a bit lower, but also it has slightly firmer spring setup, and it also has thicker anti-roll bars as well. So it's designed to be more pliant and more capable through the corners than the regular PASM that is on the other 4 litre. Just going to give myself a bit more space because there's a van up ahead. But even if I put it in normal now, it quietens right down, and it actually makes it a very sort of relaxed drive as well. You immediately feel the whole car just sort of let out a little breath and just sort of relax and sigh. And it makes it a very different drive. It makes it much more therapeutic and relaxing. The gear change is a little bit more relaxed. It doesn't have the sort of jolts between gears that you are designed for you to feel the gear change through the chassis, through the PADM system. That's Porsche Active Drivetrain Mounts, which are a controversial unit in themselves, and there are aftermarket solutions now that mean that they will not fail at random like they do with the standard Porsche unit. Right, I'm going to put it in sport again. The roads are a bit slippy, but I've never had the traction control come on one of these cars. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, if anything, the engine does sound very raw and so willing. But that boost pressure just fills any weakness in the acceleration ability of this car. So it doesn't matter what RPM you're doing. And it does love to rev as well. It's not just that the power's all low down. It does have a huge amount of torque all the way through the rev range. It's not like 911 turbos where basically you'd always be hitting the red line, hitting the rev limiter. It still has that huge range in revs. And this is why so many people are starting to really gel with these cars and overlook that initial sort of embarrassment of the startup sound. Because let's be honest, I mean, a flat 4 sounds nothing like a flat 6 when you start it up, but when it's on the move, yes, it does sound slightly industrial. But if it does such a good job, like this car currently is, in making you enjoy and communicate with you, then I think it's a price well worth paying. It actually reminds me, and I know this setup is completely different to it, but a 4-wheel drive Subaru Impreza has this same level of excitement, but this is a much better setup car in terms of it being mid-engined rear-wheel drive with much more modern suspension setup, driving dynamics and electronics and everything else. It's also an engine which doesn't detonate. It's an extremely proven power unit. Wow. It's a fantastic driving experience. And actually you grow to like the sound. Well, I have anyway. Brilliant. Yeah, I love how this drives. And I think if you are considering a GTS 4 litre or the 2.5 for that little bit less money, it's well worth taking one for a drive. And also paying attention to this video where I'm trying to sort of help people. But if you do have any thoughts about the 2.5, even while you're watching this, you haven't seen what I'm going to make of the 4 litre yet, just comment below. Always happy to engage with people when talking about these fantastic cars. But now I'm going to take the 4 litre for a drive and go through the experience of doing that. Okay, I'm now in the 4 litre Flat-6 Cayman GTS, an absolute dream car. One thing I didn't mention in the video is that this derivation of engine is actually related to the 3 litre twin turbo 911 without the turbos, different heads, bored out to a 4 litre size, used in the GT4, and then also there's the sound. Sounds very, very different to the 2.5 litre turbo. I mean, I just love how this sounds. But I'm actually really starting to get used to how the 2.5 litres also sound. Now these actually sound, you'd be surprised at how muted these 4 litres are, because it's not actually the engine, it's down to the particulate filters in the exhaust. A lot of people say it sort of ruins. Whoa, it is slippery today. This car has a lot of torque. Cold tyres. I did say it was slippery in the other car. This one just had a small moment. One of the rare times the traction control was actually switched on and made sure that I didn't end up in a hedge unnecessarily. So I'm going to put it in sport, just like I had it in the 2.5 litre turbo. Now, rather than having that kick of the turbos, which, to be fair, they don't have that sort of like on-off on the 2.5 litre turbo, but you do feel them surge when they come on boost. They have variable vane technology, just like the 997 turbos introduced in the 911 turbo. So it is a very dynamic and sort of naturally free spooling turbo. With this you have none of that. You just have a whacking great engine. As I said, a development engine from the GT4, which in turn the whole power unit was sort of taken from the 3 litre twin turbo 911 engine, but then changed to be naturally aspirated with a bigger capacity. But this car feels much more linear. If anything, it sounds more synthesized than even the 2.5 litre, which I always find quite surprising, that you don't fall in love with the sound of this engine like you would. So like I've got a Cayman GT4 981, that engine, the 3.8, which is actually a 991 4S or S engine. Again, slightly less power, slightly different setup. That is a very vocal and beautiful sounding engine. This one sounds like it's working to overcome those filters that sit in the exhaust to clean up the emissions due to more stringent regulations over time. It's a problem that all manufacturers have to deal with, is that the rules for how dirty the emissions can be coming out of an engine, not just when it's cold but also on the move, gets ever and ever stricter and more of a challenge for manufacturers to work around. But this car, it's like riding a massive wave. It's, if you were surfing, you would be sort of riding that crest of that wave all the time, feeling the power of that wave coming through the car. whereas the 2.5 litre feels much more like a point and squirt and instant gratification, as I've said earlier in this video, that word of more urgent and instant performance. This is more, you have to get into its rhythm to have that same level of cross-country performance. But you do, I mean, this is more, I think, more of a long-term ban. You can drive this for many miles and still learn the nuances of it. The 2.5 is a bit more, this is the input, this is the result, and you sort of just get it instantly. This, I think, to really sort of learn to drive it well will take time, and that has its own satisfaction as well, that you feel like it's more of a car you learn to grow and live with. And that's why a lot of people love 911s and Caymans and Boxers of the earlier eras. Was on paper they may not have performed as strongly as their counterparts from Mercedes or BMW or Audi. Wow, still a fantastic car. I mean, it is actually amazing that this engine and this setup in a petrol without a hybrid was still possible up until this year. And these do represent, these and the 2.5s represent amazing value for money. When you compare them to other stuff out there now, new cars and everything else, these are all the car you could ever need if there's only two of you. There isn't a better car cross-country in the UK that can deal with everything from driving and communicating with you like this can, while also having the practicality of those two boots which I showed you in the earlier part of the video, the reliability of these cars, the fact that they only need 2-year servicing, minor and major in alternating times, obviously with other bits factored in. But this car and the 2.5 are really, really, really special road cars. I'm not bouncing all over the roads. I'm not worried about slipping off the road because it's a cold winter's day. You can just get in it and drive and relax, take it at your pace. I love the PDK in both because it gives you the ability to have a gear in hand ready to extract the most amount of enjoyment and fun and performance in an instant. Now, why a lot of people say, oh, I really want the manual, I'm a purist, I will only look at manuals. If you get a manual in, please let me know. And I simply say to people, well, these PDKs, you need to try PDK, because what a lot of people report back on the manuals is, yes, you've got that extra level of engagement, you've got the balance of the clutch, you've got, you're actually physically, mechanically selecting a gear, engaging it, blending it in with the clutch pedal, heeling and towing and all of that great stuff, which I love in my own GT4. But the gearing on these cars, and including my GT4, are extremely long. So second gear in all of these cars will go all the way up to around 85 miles an hour, which means that basically at road speeds, 60 mile an hour roads, to really extract all of that beautiful oral sounds, that immediate pure performance of these engines, where they're designed to be is 4,000 or 5,000 RPM plus. To do that in third gear, you're way above the speed limit. So you could argue that's not the most ideal way to have a road car in the UK, is to really enjoy it. And what the engineers have done in producing these cars, you can't really extract it on the roads. The PDK you can, because the ratios are much more suited to running up and down the box on a B road. So that's where I'm going to leave this video. Some food for thought regarding the manual and the PDK. I think these are both sensational cars. I think the 4 litre has more long-term character in how it drives. You will gel with it. You will feel it's got that pure flat 6, which makes Porsches great. But if you do want to enjoy one of these GTSs in all conditions, the 2.5 litre is still sensational. It's still a car you can learn to love its character, and the sound of it is actually in some ways more exciting than this 4 litre in standard setup. So that is without breaking MOT regulations, removing all the filters and everything else, fitting different exhausts, doing remaps, that kind of thing. I don't really talk about that stuff. I'm just purely talking manufacturer specification to manufacturer specification without any modifications. I would say that the 2.5 litre is definitely not one to just rule out just because, oh, it's a flat 4, and just be a bit of a sort of an old school Porsche snob about it. But hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do like and subscribe, and if you do have any viewpoints or opinions about what I'm talking about, these wonderful 2 Cayman GTSs, please don't hesitate to comment below. Thanks for watching.